Hey, everybody. Welcome to We Do Virtual Events Live. Can you believe that this is the fourth episode and the last episode in the month of June already? And I thought, wow, I think I just started. But you know how it is in the world of live streaming and live broadcasting, time flies by, right? So if you're watching, welcome to We Do Virtual Events Live. I am your host here, and I'm going to get started in a bit, and I'll bring all the speakers up. But before that, I'm really excited to share this information because today this panel is just going to rock it out and talk about the essentials of choosing the right platform for your virtual event. It doesn't matter if you're streaming, if you're podcasting, if you're into webinars, online courses, training, all that is virtual events, right? I have a panel of 5 guest speakers who I call them pathfinders because they have been very brave and have dived into this world of virtual events, right? And they are here to share their experience and tips, and you get to take that all with you. And I want to show you. So here are the 5 folks who are on the panel today. And I'm going to get started with just a sneak peek of who they are, and then we'll be right back. Boom. All right. Are you ready? We're going to get started and we're going to have a conversation in this episode 4 of We Do Virtual Events Live. In case you're wondering what in the world the show is all about, well, it is a talk show featuring trailblazing conversations with global virtual event pathfinders who reimagine the traditional event experience. Are you ready to meet them all? And here we go. Boom. Hi, everybody. How is everybody doing today?
Awesome.
Great. Wonderful.
All right, we had a sneak peek of who you all are, but we're just going to go around the room, all right? We're just missing Art because he has a little bit tech issue, but let's get started. Just a quick 30 seconds around the room and just tell us who you are, and then we'll get started with the questions because I know our viewers want to get some tips and, hear your experiences with choosing the right platform for your virtual event. So let's get Sherry get us started here.
Right. Hi, I'm the owner of H&A Events, and we are an event production company and association management company. So we put on in-person events, and this has really helped us. We've had to go to virtual events, obviously, because they've ended during the pandemic. So we put on trade shows, conferences, galas, fundraisers, everything from the small corporate to large corporate to nonprofit.
And for those who says this is not possible, right, Sherry? Well, we're in the midst of it, right? Whether we like it or not, we have to learn it. All right, now we welcome Mark Gordon from Canada. Hi, Mark.
How are you? Great to be here. My name, as you already know, is Mark Gordon. I am an expert in the field of customer experience. And for me, the last few years, or I guess probably the last 10 years now, have been involving me being on stages around the world sharing ideas and concepts with businesses. But obviously over the last year and a half, I've had to do that virtually, not only as a guest, but also as someone who's put on events. So I've had to learn from scratch like everybody else. And I've learned what works and what doesn't. And I'm going to try to share some of that with you guys tonight.
Boom. This is what I'm talking about. We all have to go through it and experience it. And Laura Rubenstein from California.
Sunny California here.
Sunny.
I'm a digital marketer. I'm the founder of a boutique marketing firm, Transform Today, and the influencer marketing platform, socialbuzzclub.com. And I support a lot of events as an affiliate. I'm participating in a lot of events, and I've been doing my own virtual events via live streaming, via video since 2011, believe it or not, with Adobe Connect Pro. was one of the first platforms that we could do it that worked really well. So I look forward to giving you my insights on putting on virtual events.
I love that you mentioned that. It just brings me back to the Blab I Am days. And these days, when I say Blab I Am, people look at me like, what in the world is that? Well, that's a different topic for a different day. All right, let's welcome Chris Carson. Hey, Chris.
Hey friends, I'm Chris of Steady Live, and the punchline of what we do, how we do things differently, well, we're the muscle behind the production. We're there actually the ones live streaming it, but differently than a lot of others in the industry. We live on the bleeding edge, and how we do things can be, in a lot of ways, way better than how everyone else is doing it. Obviously, at any time, you can learn more at Steady Live or steady.live. Boom.
Boom. See, Chris and I, we met on like your live broadcast, right? And in the chat, after a few minutes on, we discovered that we're actually fellow Sagittarians, and our birthdays are 5 days apart. Boom, people. This is what virtual events can do for you. All right, let's welcome Art Jones, and just in time for intros. Hi, Art. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you.
I think that's a delay. Oh, okay, great. Yes, we can hear you. Just a slight delay, but yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Art. Let's hear your introduction. Go ahead and do your 30 seconds introduction. Uh-oh. Did we lose you?
Okay. So my name is Art Jones. I'm the founder of The Art of Standing Out. Our focus is business strategy, brand storytelling, so you can market better and sell more. I'm excited to be here with Zeph, definitely excited, because live streaming is something I know she does so well, and everybody that she knows is also an expert live streamer. I'm trying my best to keep up with Zeph, and I know just being close to her, all her expertise will rub off on me. So thanks for having me on board.
Boom. Thanks, Art. Well, I just want to say, in case some of our viewers who are watching today are pretty new to me, I just want to say, basically, when I started live streaming, live broadcasting, I just wanted to do it for my business. And now, fast forward almost 10 years later, people keep asking me like, hey, do you think virtual events will still be around? Because, things are opening up. Hey, hello, excuse me. I started this almost 10 years ago, and it's here, still here. And we're moving forward with so many different virtual events, hybrid events. So you know what? It's going to be here to stay. So I'm going to be excited to just share everything, especially on this panel with my guest panelists right here. And today, let's just talk about this conversation that we have planned for the show, right? We're talking about the essentials of choosing the right platform for your virtual event. How this is going to play out, folks, if you're watching for the first time, they're just going to we're just going to go around the room, just have a couple of questions, and we're going to play a game with spin wheel. I'll get to be Vanna White for 5 minutes, right? And then we're just going to have fun and give you tips and share our experience about virtual events. So let's get started, everybody. Oh, in case you're watching, even on replay, be sure to say hello so we can say a proper hello to you right back. Boom. All right, here's question 1 for the panelists, right? This is a very typical question, and whoever wants to get us started, you can, or I can call out by name. So question number 1, based on your experience, what is one essential thing that everyone needs to be mindful of when choosing the right platform or event technology for a virtual event? Now, who wants to go first? Should I call names?
I'll dive into this one if it's good with you
guys.
Go
ahead, Mark.
I'll go first.
Yes.
I'll
let Mark go first because he said he'll go first.
Yeah, we got that delay. It's okay, Art. You're coming up next. Okay, so
yes.
For me, it really, with regards to technology, my view has always been that it shouldn't be the first thing on your mind. That really the first thing on your mind should be, what do you want to say and how do you want to say it? What kind of experience do you want to deliver? Because it's so easy to get drawn into that rabbit hole of technology. And, I'm sure all of us and a lot of you watching, may have seen some of these amazing setups with 5 or 6 monitors and control panels and everything else. And you just are like, wow, that's so awesome. But sometimes you just need to step back and realize that you can create an amazing event or presentation with you, your content, your style. And it doesn't matter what platform you use. And obviously there are some technical things to be aware of. But I think a good starting point is really understanding what you want to say, how you want to say it, and how you want people to not only take in that information, but what you want them to leave with. And then find the technology that allows you to best do that.
Thanks, Mark. I love that you mentioned that. And I'm just going to let Art, there may be a little bit of delay, but Art, if you can hear us, go ahead and jump in.
And absolutely, I completely agree with Mark. And I believe that everything that business owners do comes down to leadership. And leaders know they're
Oh, Art, I think you're kind of breaking up. So I'm going to let can you hear me? I'm going to let somebody come in first and then we'll get back to you. Sounds good? All right. Who wants to go? Laura, I see your hand. I feel like we're in the Zoom room. Like, hello.
Yeah, we need one of those, right? And
Right.
That's kind of it. Like, I loved what Mark said, because not only do you want to figure out what kind of experience do you want and want them to leave with, but what is your purpose in creating this? Are you building a list? Are you monetizing? Do you need it to be something that is rinse and repeat easily, duplicatable? Is it an ongoing type of event? Do you have it on a monthly basis, a weekly, a quarterly, an annual? And so you want to see what technology will help you with that. And so if you need to build a list, does it help you? If you're doing a summit, does it help you keep in touch with the speakers and get what you need from them? If you're monetizing, does it have payment features? So there's all kinds of things to consider, but those are first few. It's about what is your purpose. So you know your audience and what you want them to leave with, like Mark said. And I think the next thing is, well, what is the purpose?
I love that. I think purpose is very important, and many of us should start there. Art, I'm going to take you back on screen and put you on stage. And Art is back.
I'm back.
Go ahead.
I guess I should say technology should be your first. Technology should be your first thing that you care about, because I'm using my iPad, and you can tell I'm a little slow on the lip syncing with my audio. But I do believe that knowing your ideal customer is important, because when you know your ideal customer is, you know where they gather online, and that's where you present online. You don't present somewhere and ask them to come to where you are. You go where they are, and then you present your show, your webinar, your content. So I think it's all about knowing your ideal customer.
I love that. And it's so true. But before we go to Sherry, which I want Sherry to kind of give her take on this, I wanted to say quickly a quick hello to those who are in the live stage and Crowdcast. Hi, Scott. I see you in the house. Welcome. And a few other people are here. I'm trying to do that, multitasking thing like we all producers do. So I just wanted to do my head's over here, my fingers are over here. But anyways, let's go to Sherry, because I know, Sherry, this is a question because you had to transition or at least transition a little bit from the in-person event to, virtual event, and this was big last year for you.
Yes. Yeah. It was really big. So what we did is we took a look at what our needs were. So it was a little bit different because we're dealing with a large size conference, which we're taking and getting attendees involved, still trying to get sponsor dollars and conference dollars and attendee registration. So we had to make sure that we had something that fit all of those components. And so with the client, we, went through the list of here's what we want to be able to do for the event. And then we made sure that the application could meet that. And then it could meet the attendees and the exhibitors and the speakers' needs and meet our technical needs as well, as far as what our team did, because we're a little technical savvy. So we launched into doing this, producing this all ourselves. And that's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. I can attest to that for sure.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. In fact, even with live streaming, and Chris could actually, speak to this definitely. When I started this journey, I started streaming, broadcasting. It was out of my own need. And I remember in the early days, I used to say, hey, you know what? Art and Laura can actually attest to this because we all kind of met on the platform called Blab. And we just after that, a lot of platforms came about. And then we were like, okay, where do we go after this? Because Blab's going to shut down. Where do we go? Are they going to do multi-streaming on Facebook and all other locations? And that was such an issue back then. We thought that was the hardest thing until this year when I started my journey with virtual events, where I took a look at all these different platforms that have components of networking, virtual booth, exhibition hall. And I'm like, holy cow, I thought I arrived, but not really. So I get that part, that's a whole lot of other logistics that I have to think about for the client, or even ask questions to the client, like, what are your needs? What's the purpose of you having this event on this platform? So that's a great thing. Chris, could you add to that? Maybe you can answer this question too.
Yeah, I'd love to. So again, I'm Chris. I'm on the production side. My team and I are the ones literally streaming the event. So for us, the biggest thing for not only companies, whether they be freelancers or vendors or whatever else, for the event production companies, I'm sure that those companies will agree with this statement. Start sooner. For the love of everything, your annual event happens annually. Please don't start a month, 2 months, or 3 months away. Start sooner. And a message to both sides of the on the event side, the one hosting the event and the ones you hire to help run the event. Start with your vendors sooner.
I love that.
Production companies like mine, the more we can know, the sooner the better. The more we can help on the technological side of being able to say, well, hey, this is also possible, and it's only $2 more. Why wouldn't we do it? We can have these conversations much sooner, and should. And at the end of the day, everyone's stress level will be way down.
Boom. I love that you actually mentioned that, because that's one of the things, right? Especially, I'm sure Sherry and, any of you are doing the actual virtual event component with this virtual summits or conference. Sometimes what I've experienced is this, right? Because people think, this is done online. We can kind of take our time and plan it last minute. And I'm thinking, okay, do you do last minute with your in-person conferences, right? Because when it comes to technology, what people tend to forget and clients tend to forget is we also have to do the testing part, right? The testing of the technology. Is your internet going to work with this? Or, all these different hardwares that need to talk to the softwares, right? Would they actually work when the event happens? And just like Mark can actually attest to this, right? Things can happen during the event, and we need to have the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. And I just want to do a shout out to our viewers who are here. And Amy Mills, hi Amy, good to see you, thank you. And Carlos said he is correct, and I'm thinking because Carlos's comment is the last comment, so he's probably commenting to what Chris just said. And Carlos did say, I started with broadcast television, then shifted to online streaming, and switched to being an authorized tech dealer and producer. It's been an adventure. Exactly, right? It's always going to stretch us. So, folks, if you're watching this for the first time, this is the panel on We Do Virtual Events Live. And the conversation tonight is the essentials of choosing the right platform for your virtual event, whatever that event may be. And we just finished answering the question based on your experience. What is one essential thing that everyone needs to be mindful of when choosing the right platform or event technology for a virtual event? Since everybody has gone, I just want to do a quick minute to kind of share my take on this. So what happened was last May, I did an event in Southeast Asia, my home country, Malaysia. One of the things Sherry would go like, oh, yep, you have to do that. I overlooked was because in the excitement of, executing this event, I totally forgot to kind of like take into consideration that I was going into a culture that was very mobile driven and very WhatsApp driven. The platform that we had chosen for this virtual event was such a challenge because there was a virtual networking table component that couldn't be executed on the mobile, devices. And we've had to like work with our vendors and go like, oh, by the way, pull up your computer, you go here, click here, it says enter event. And they look at us here. We go like, yeah, right here. So, things like that, because I have to be mindful in choosing the right platform for even the different regions of the world, because they may not be desktop savvy, computer savvy. They may be all 100% mobile or WhatsApp. So that was one of the challenges and my takeaway from my own experience. So boom, that's it. We kind of lost Art because he's having challenges with his Wi-Fi. So we'll come back. Hopefully he shows up again. If not, we'll always have a conversation in our tribe in the Facebook group. Carlos did say something here. Some clients think that because it's a live stream, that Zoom resolves everything and do last minute massive events. Sherry is laughing because she knows where I stand with this. And I think some of you know this. I had shared with Mark and even Laura, I say in the past, I have this, over time, I've had actually, developed this hashtag called I'm allergic to Zoom, not because I'm allergic to the product, but to the mindset, right? Sherry, we talked about this because we said about in choosing the right platform, especially for virtual events, whether it's streaming or, a full-blown virtual event, Zoom may not be the answer because, if you want a networking component, you want a virtual exhibit or a virtual booth component or speed networking or the streaming component, you don't want to use multiple platforms. You want to use one. So that's one of the things, and that's why Carlos knows that too. And he just had to throw that in. Anyway, so let's move forward to the next question here, folks. Before we do that, I'm just going to do a quick 10 seconds intermission here, and we'll be right back. All right, folks, you're watching We Do Virtual Events Live. The conversation on this panel is the essentials of choosing the right platform for your virtual event. Now, here is question number 2. Let's go around. So name one event technology challenge that you have experienced while hosting, producing, or managing a virtual event, and how did you solve it? Who wants to get that started? Mark is smiling.
Well, I had a lot of, so like I had mentioned earlier, really, it started with what I wanted to deliver, the experience I wanted to deliver. And really, I was like most other people. I logged into Zoom and that was it. And there were things I liked and things I didn't like, but I decided to stay with Zoom because everyone was so familiar with it. And I didn't want visitors to say, well, I don't have that app. I don't have that application. I don't know how to log in. Everyone knew Zoom. The problem was I didn't know how to deliver the experience I wanted. So I went and watched every video I could get my hands on, read every article, and most of them were terrible. They told me how to do things I didn't want to do, or they would give you like 9 out of the 10 things you needed to know. And then they would leave out that one thing. And you're like, what? How do I make those 2 pieces of hardware connect? So for me, it was really figuring out how to get the hardware to work the way I wanted it to in a way that was seamless. And it was really just a lot of trial and error. I have to tell you, the Amazon guys were coming to my house every day, either picking something up that I was returning or dropping something off, every kind of cable and adapter and you can imagine. And I was able to finally get it, but it took a lot of trial and error.
Who wants to go next? Anybody wants to share their experience with event tech? Go ahead, Laura.
So I do a live stream every week, and I'm interviewing people who are sometimes new to Zoom. And I do this on Zoom in particular now because they are familiar. But in 2015, when I started, they were not familiar with it. So if you're starting with the technology and you're bringing on speakers, how I resolved this was I did a green room time of 30 minutes beforehand to prep my speaker, mostly for the tech, to make sure they're computer connected, like the arts of the world. And I always gave a caveat that if their tech doesn't work by the time we're going live, I'm going to excuse them till another show, right? Because, we're very authentic. And the other thing I say is, I have one rule for my live streams. Whatever happens from this moment forward is perfect. So a lot of times people are on mute, right? And so I coach my guests that if they're on mute, I'm going to be your mute buddy, and I will just say one word on mute, and don't make a big deal of it. Just say thank you. We're not going to be sorry people today. We're going to be thank you people, because sorry makes people feel uncomfortable, but thank you makes it okay for everyone, right? Or I say, don't even say anything. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And so I prep them ahead of time. I give them coaching like that. And, we pray that it does go right. And that usually helps,
Yes.
But really
exactly.
everything happens is perfect. And we just keep, the show must go on. And if people can't connect, that's fine. We'll get them on another time.
I agree. And Carlos says your setting expectation is huge. Day one. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Carlos. All right. Who else want to share? Chris, shall we hear from you too? Because I know Chris may have a lot to share.
Yeah. So friends, it does not take a lot in order to make a live virtual event happen. Even if you are in person and it's a hybrid event, it still doesn't take a lot in order to make it happen. I'll tell you the number one thing of before a shutdown in 2020 that everybody learned is that, first off, live streaming events is real, and it's been around for quite a while, but now everyone worldwide finally understands the value of what it is and now the service that we offer. So that's a huge win for us. But what do we give them back in return? Sir, your microphone's not on. Yes, sir. It's the green button in Zoom. Yes, sir. Right down in the middle of the screen. I've said that same speech probably a million times in the last year. But here's the number one punchline, or the number one thing everyone can do. And it's one of the cheapest things of all of the things that you could buy for your live event. Please ensure all speakers, everyone that is going to be seen and heard on screen, just like I am right now, please make sure they have a direct Ethernet connection to their router or modem, whatever it is. Please don't use Wi-Fi. I understand you have great Wi-Fi. We all do. It works until it doesn't. So a $20 Ethernet cable will change your life and save your stream. So please,
I agree.
if I can give you one thing, definitely get an Ethernet cable.
There you go. Boom. Here's one thing as Chris is sharing, and I'm thinking, I should share this too. One of the biggest thing when I started, doesn't matter because, I had my path was coming through live streaming and live broadcasting. And there were several virtual conferences global virtual conferences that I had to, collaborate with. One of the biggest things is because people are transitioning to some sort of a new normal, right? So back then, I had to quickly learn there's going to be a lot of technology gremlins on the day that you're going to have your virtual event. So when you do a backup plan to a backup plan to a backup plan, one of the things I always tell people, actually, I'm going to share 2 points. One of the things is that I find for platforms and finding the virtual event platforms, whether it's streaming or any kind of virtual event platforms, that they're compatible on the desktop or computer, right? And also mobile, because just like what happened to Art just now, even though his internet connection was slow, he was able to come on a mobile device, right? Because there's a way to get into StreamYard. So that's the solution. The other thing, how I prep and how some of you have shared is that I kind of like after a while seeing the like, I wouldn't say mistakes, but the same things happening over and over again. What I've had to do is I create some sort of a cue sheet or whatever and create an expectation. Like, these are the things that can help you to have a great experience when you're streaming or you're virtual at a virtual event. If one of the things when I, worked with Sherry and you did this with your team, you actually blocked some time for your event participants to come in to do some sort of a rehearsal and technology onboarding. I love that because, it is important. While some of you may think it's a waste of time, I can promise you that will help 50% less headache, if you actually prep those event participants. Boom. So I'm going to bring Sherry up next because she's going to carry on what I just shared here.
Exactly. That was a critical point, I think, to our success, was having a set tech rehearsal time weeks in advance with each one of our speakers. I mean, we dealt with 60 different speakers, all of them who have different types of platforms that they're used to. Some haven't ever been on this platform. Some are not very tech savvy. So we met with them. We emailed them the sheet. We emailed them the time, the date of the tech rehearsal. And then we told them to reboot their computer the day of the event, not 5 minutes before, because it never fails. Windows has an update. But reboot it earlier in that afternoon or right before, and then to be ready. And so they come on, and any issues they have with sharing their screen, their video, we can go through the Wi-Fi to make sure you're not using Wi-Fi. Are you plugged in? Do you have dual monitors? So many things we can cover with them. And it's amazing how much more comfortable they are when it comes to the day of the event. And we we had a program that went over 2 weeks. We had over 60 breakout sessions in that 2-week period, sometimes up to 6 or 7 sessions going at a time, and not one single class wasn't able to be put on. And it was all done live. It was all live. So it can be done, but it takes a lot of prep and a lot of planning. So it can be done.
I agree. Yes, it can be done. And I think it's an organization. And I think that's why I brought this panel together, because each and every one of us, whether we're streaming or we're doing the full blown virtual events like you're producing, Sherry, is that we have basic the essentials of running a program or an event. That's kind of basic steps that we all follow, right? Getting our event participants or even our guests on live streaming shows a certain process. So thank you for sharing that. All right. I just want to show what Carlos is sharing here. He goes like, Gremlin, please plug in your microphone. Please use headphones. You get what I'm talking about, right? So yeah, absolutely. And somebody, I don't know who this is. You're probably in one of my Facebook groups that I'm streaming this out to. So Facebook user, you're saying, yes, tech onboarding is key to check the camera, lighting, and sound. And not only that, and I think a lot of, a big part of the virtual event, just like what Chris, you mentioned, and I think that's so huge, is have an Ethernet connection, direct connection. Here's one question for you, Chris. What do you suggest for some of those who have like the Macs that can't be wired? You know what I'm saying? Because I used to say, hey, do you have, Ethernet connection and just hot wire? And they go like, I don't have a place to wire that on my computer. What's your solution?
Yeah. So virtual, this is coming up in here next question in the show, but these virtual events aren't going away. It's just not going to happen. And so, so fire up Amazon, go check out an Anchor USB-C hub, spend $30 to $60 on that, plus your Ethernet cable. And friends, you are now set for every virtual event going forward. You've got everything you need to be successful.
I love that. I love that. All right, folks. So what we're going to do next really is to play a game. So you will see our guests here will kind of spin the wheel, and we're going to play a little game. And then what will happen is they will spin, and then a question pops up, and they get to ask this question to one of the guest panelists. So let's get started, people. All right. I feel like being Vanna White for 2 minutes here. Okay. So Laura, wait, let me just put myself up here because I want to see Sherry. All right. Let's start with Laura because Laura's up top. I'm going to let Laura tell me when to spin, and then Let's talk
Oh,
by
I'm
itself.
nervous. I'm so nervous.
Go
Okay,
ahead,
go,
Laura.
go.
Go. Who do you want to ask this question to, Laura?
Oh, Sherry.
Sherry, you have this question. So the question is, name your top 2 virtual event platform capabilities that are necessary to achieve your post-event goals. We're talking about post-event because I feel it's very important in the world that we are in today, not only to rely on social platforms. So if there was a virtual event, capability for the event technology, what are your top 2 for post-event, Sherry?
So, looking for a application that can do, like you mentioned earlier, both mobile and desktop. So you'll have people catching at home or catching at work, catching on the go, and then being able to live stream that as well as come back later and watch the recordings. And have that communication networking capability that allows your attendees to connect and create a community. And that can be done via gaming, which is now in a lot of these apps that are in. There's just, I can't come up with only 2, but those are 2.5.
I love that you mentioned the gaming. I love that you mentioned the gaming because that is the next, I would say the next generation feature of virtual events. So at We Do Virtual Events Live, one of the things I love to share and remind everybody is reimagine the traditional event, right? Because it just doesn't have to be a boring Zoom meeting. It can be a lot more other things where you can build that community. And thank you for sharing that. All right, let's spin the wheel again. You get to spin the wheel now, Sherry. Hey. All right, let me just add that. Ready? Are we ready? Shall I spin?
Yes, spin.
Go! All right. So here's the question. Name one of your preferred virtual event platforms that you have used and why. Who do you want to ask?
Chris.
Yeah, there you go, Chris. We're going to ask you.
This is such a great question because I feel like you guys are probably better equipped to answer it than I, because Zeph, what we were talking about when we first joined before the pre-show tonight was, well, what do most of your clients use? Well, actually, we build custom websites for our clients and for the events that they do. Now, it has a lot of the capabilities, or all of the capabilities of course, the competitors. But the punchline is that we get to have so much more granular control of things that matter to us and our clients directly, rather than what someone else thought about. It's fully customizable end to end. And so that's been really important for our clients. And then, of course, then you got to make sure the numbers can all work as well. So we've definitely all got some work to do there. But the good news is, at least for me, it's been incredibly successful. And by the way, last point, when the world shut down last year, I'm an in-person production company. Now we do live streaming, yes, but the punchline is that our full calendar of in-person events went away. But all of those came back immediately with live, virtual only, and much, much more. So we went from losing everything to quite literally gaining the world by not only listening to our clients, being ready for what's next, being on the bleeding edge. That's something that we live by at Steady. And then, of course, the biggest thing, just try to accomplish the goal rather than having 17,000 other dreams and hopes and whatever else for your event. Let's make sure we can accomplish this list of needs before we get to all the nice to haves too with these platforms and whatever else.
I love that you mentioned that, because that's why when I was putting together this panel, I reached out to Mark. So Mark has what he had posted, because we met at one of this events. It's called the virtual events or virtual events, and I'm gonna kind of share this just because I feel it's kind of important for me to share. Mark, I want to put up your picture, because this is what happened when I saw your post in the group, and I said I gotta have Mark share this because it's kind of important for people to see. Right, Chris, you mentioned about how people have had your company actually does in-person events, but since last year, you've had to, all that went away, and you had people just wanting to do streaming events and all that stuff. And when Mark and I met, and this group had a lot of conversation about tech, there's nothing wrong about that. And I know, it's a big component, but for me, I got intimidated, and I was like, I kept quiet in the group, and I'm like, I hope somebody's just like me, like to keep it simple. And Mark, you had shared this, right, in the group. And I said, I got to bring Mark. Mark, what was your thing when you posted this? You said something about like, I'm keeping this simple for my virtual event.
Yeah, you know what? The plan, and for me, and Chris, I just want to say, my hats off to you and what your company does, because you do all the heavy lifting and make people like me look good. Regretfully,
Yes.
a lot of people like me, we don't have access to people like you for any number of reasons. So I knew that this was something that I was going to have to manage myself. I wasn't going to have a crew either there or virtually to do this. So I needed something that I could manage. Because remember, as speakers, and I'm sure Laura, you can relate to this, we are having to deal with content, we're having to deal with engagement and technology and everything else on our own. So we have to do all of that. So I needed something to create a system that allowed me to deliver what I wanted to in a way that freed, or I guess used as little brain power as possible to manage, so I could focus on presenting. Because the truth is, the visitors, the people watching the event, the attendees, they don't care about your setup. They don't care about your Wi-Fi. They don't care about your audio, cameras. All they want to know is, are you going to entertain me? Are you going to engage me? Are you going to make this a seamless, stress-free, interaction? And that's what I wanted to do. So, if you look back at that picture, Zeph, you'll see that the way I wired it up, I mean, it's bare minimum. And it looks very simple, but it took me the better part of a month to figure out how to make that work as simple as it did. And you can't see behind the desk, by the way, the spaghetti factory of wires going on back there. It is absolutely nuts what's going on behind that desk.
I love that you mentioned that, Mark, and even, and that's why I appreciate like what you do, Chris, because I said, if I can't do this, I have someone in my tribe who can actually do this for me or for my clients. And that's why I love this community of people who are just on virtual with doing virtual events. Doesn't matter if you're a webinar or, you're teaching online courses or cooking classes, or even from your angle of production, Chris, streaming, right? There is a group or a tribe of people who can kind of collaborate and work with one another. And, I just like when people talk technology in a hardware format with me, I go like, stop. You can even talk to my friend Chris, Carlos, or whoever, because I don't do hardware technology, because it's not what I want to concentrate on. So that's a great thing. And when I saw Mark share that, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who wants to keep it simple as it is. My head is just looking at 3 different screens, and I only have 10 fingers. So there we go. All right. I'm just gonna do a quick intermission, 30 seconds, and we'll come back and we just wrap it up and do a little bit more game playing. We'll see you in about 30 seconds, everybody.
Explore and discover with us why virtual events are becoming more essential to what you do and how you connect with the audience. How to choose the right type of virtual event for you. What kind of tools and resources are needed to produce your virtual event? How to pick the right virtual event service providers. How to monetize and profit from your virtual event. For more exclusive content, resources, and opportunities regarding virtual events, join our online community.
All All right, everybody. If you're just tuning in, you are watching We Do Virtual Events Live, and this panel, an event tech and event management panel, we are having a conversation about the essentials of choosing the right platform for your virtual event. All right, that said, I have my 5 speakers here with me. We were supposed to have, 4 speakers here with me. We were supposed to have another one, Art, but he had some challenges with tech, but we're here. All right. We're just going to keep up a little bit, one more, or maybe 1 or 2 more, spinning the wheel. And if you're wondering what it is, this is what we're doing. All right, Chris, let's do this. Shall I spin the wheel?
Yeah, go for it.
Boom.
Name your top 2 virtual.
This is very important too. We answered the post-event, and now we're going to do the pre-event. So who do you want to ask this question to, Chris? Name your top 2 virtual event platform capabilities that are necessary to achieve your pre-event goals.
I
mean, I think everybody has some to add here. Sherry, are you able to start with this one?
Sure. Some of the applications have registration built into them. So that's a really important part when you're preparing for this, and the registration and how seamless, how easy is it to download the app or access the app and the platform that you're going to be on. Is it restricted access or is it open access? Can anybody download it? Or the other thing to look at is it a private app, private branded app? Or is it part of that company's app that you have to download the company app and then you go search for your event? For a lot of clients, that's something that's really important to have, that branding piece of it. It does cost you a little bit more, but to know that if you're on a budget, you can do it the other way as well. So I think talking about the registration and the branding would be big.
Awesome. Registration, branding. Chris, since you were saying that we all could contribute to this conversation, to this question, what's your take on this, the pre-event goals?
I'm going to skip because I'd love to hear what Laura has to say, if that's okay.
Laura, you're on the spot.
One of the things that is a primary thing that I always look for, because of the way I do my events, is the embeddability live, and also the pre-scheduling, be able to set it up and embed it beforehand, because I find that you can embed it after by uploading it to YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But so I've often actually resorted to YouTube Live. And now that we can stream multi people from like a StreamYard here, I've used that, but I don't have to send people to watch it on Facebook, although I could, but I can have people sign up and then they can watch it on my website. So that's like a big, huge thing for me. If there are other platforms out there that do it, let me know.
That's exactly why. So that's exactly why I stream this. I simulcast my streams, right? So one of the locations that I push this out to is actually Crowdcast. And I've used this for like over 5 years. Even when especially when they just started out. And I've had my fellow streamers ask me like, you're still using Crowdcast? I'm like, yes, because I understand the value of some of the features that I want to work. And one of it is really embedding on my website. Mark, because, you just recently started with the virtual conferences, what have you discovered that you needed in a platform capability as far as pre-event goals, matching your pre-event goals?
First of all, I want to say, Laura, you made my night with that whole YouTube Live thing. I totally writing that down. I'm like, am I supposed to get something out of this?
This is what we were masterminding on the show.
I feel like one of the attendees now. I'm learning so much.
Yep.
But for me, pre-event, and I think Laura did touch on this, is we really want to build the list and draw them in. And for me, it really isn't about the presentation software. It's about all the other stuff. So it's about creating those custom landing pages on your site. It's about creating some kind of system for getting emails on an automation system and things like that, because really there's 2 parts to this. One is you want that audience, so you got to bring them in. But also there's a lot of people I've noticed who have an interest and they come back and they say, well, I'd love to be a part of it, but it doesn't work for me on that day. I can't make it to that event, but let me know about other events. So you really want to create a system where you can welcome everybody and say, okay, if you can't make it, that's okay. Here's another way for you to reach out to me, or to sort of be in my inner circle, so to speak, and I'll let you know about future events. So really, it's taking things outside of the presentation software, we'll call it, and managing things through, whether it be email or social media or a landing page on your site or anything like that, to keep that infrastructure in place. Because at the end of the day, it really is about people, first and foremost. If we have no people, then there's no point to any of us even showing up.
And there's no community. Exactly. I love it. Speaking about people and community, I'm going to put some of the engagements that our viewers are putting out there, right? Anna, hello. Anna saying folks do care about audio. If the sound bites, they're gone. Boom. Chris can say, can actually, attest to that, right, Chris? And then Chris also said, exactly, it all matters. Planning and testing prior to the big day with each virtual speaker goes a long way. Oh, I learned that through broadcasting. So, Laura and I go like, yep, we agree. And Laura, you said loving the virtual event masterminding that is going on here. Thanks, Zav. Oh, thank you too. And I say, nice job, Zav. Even your intermission. Oh, I love the intermission. Angela says, love the info I'm getting. Shout out to StreamYard. Shout out to Crowdcast. And Anna says, Owen and Theresa, you guys might dig this question. So this is what I like about when we do shows like this, right, Chris? Somebody's going to shout out to all their community and go like suddenly like somebody's picking up there, and then they can watch the replay, even post the live broadcast. And I love this. All right, a quick intermission, 10 seconds, and we'll be right back, everybody. All right. So we have about 9 minutes to go, and I just wanted to kind of like wrap it up in a way that I want to go around the room and ask each and every one, like, where do you see the future of events, right? Whether it's in person, virtual, or hybrid. But primarily, I love the conversation about virtual events, because in the first panel of the show that we kicked off on June 9, one of our panel members, I get this question a lot, and because they actually were an in-person networking group, right? Then during the pandemic, they took it all online. And what they've realized is they don't want to go back to the in-person, because they started to have community, beyond the region where they're at. So they enjoy that. And one of the things that they get, this gentleman got asked, actually Scott's in the house. If Scott, you're listening to this, you could probably attest to this. Scott said, he get asked this question a lot, because he says, people are asking me, now that pandemic's almost over, and everything's kind of opening up, where do you see the future of virtual events, because people are going back to in-person events? So I'm going to push to Laura, because Laura, like, you're in the middle of the screen for me right now. Do you want to get share your thoughts about the future of where the virtual events, hybrid or in-person events will be heading?
I've definitely heard what you're hearing is, especially from even speakers, not necessarily even the attendees. The speakers are like, I don't want to be on the road at, 24, 50 weeks a year type of thing. Yes. They're like, this is really nice. I'd like to build my business and my authority on stages that are virtual. And we've seen TEDx talks and things like that. So they are doing it. But I think there's something in it also. We're going to see things like you were talking about, gaming, and also directories for virtual event speakers, so that you can if you're a speaker, you can put your name in the hat with your bio and your topics and what you're available to speak at, so you can have more speaking. It's kind of like a virtual speaker, not directory, but a event planning portal. I think we'll see some new things coming that way. Maybe some of you are starting to participate in. I saw one pop out of the corner of my eye recently with an event planning system. The system and they're selling the system, and now they're having a directory. I think it's
yes,
yeah.
I love that. And there's a lot of them out there right now. And Sherry could probably tell you that too, because we get that like approach by the platform developers quite a bit just to kind of test out their products. Chris.
Yeah, so looking at, and just to piggyback off what Laura's saying, it is expensive if you are an attendee and you go to some of these events that I've done are national events. So these people aren't just going for their state annual conference or whatever it is, but they're going maybe to California or wherever, right? So there's tremendous overhead wrapped up in that. We're coming out of a pandemic where it's in some ways been a lot more challenging for a lot of people to make ends meet. So virtual's not going anywhere. Hybrid is not going anywhere. And the people that are doing in-person events that aren't live streaming it out, come on, why? You are missing out on such a major revenue opportunity.
Yes.
Not to mention the post-game content that you can sell and people can watch and all kinds of other stuff. Last point to the speakers, friends, if you are going to make the decision to stay home and do virtual only, please, just as much time as you spend traveling to the event, getting prepped and everything for it, please go back a few minutes ago and listen to what we said a couple questions ago about talking about get a Ethernet adapter and an Ethernet cable, get some good lighting, get a quality microphone. Please treat this as if it is your actual livelihood, because
I love it.
The quality of your audio and your picture are being judged in real time, and you're not going to have the opportunity to go up and shake hands and kiss babies at the in-person event. So friends, please just do that. I love you all. I greatly appreciate all the value that each of you bring. I've sat through thousands of hours in the last year of and learned so much about so many things that I will never do. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity, but please take your job just as serious as you do in person.
I love it. And it's actually an investment on yourself, right? It's exactly that. And if you're not willing to invest in you, then why would you want to do it like that in that virtual format? So Anna's saying, watching while chillaxing on my couch, best of both worlds. And she says, digging the toolbox behind Chris. Maybe you should start selling that, Chris.
Yep, that's a good point.
Says,
please go ahead. Yep.
Thank you,
Exactly.
Chris. And then Sherry would love to hear your thoughts about this.
Absolutely. So virtual events are here to stay. I think hybrid events will continue to grow, but I'm pleased to say in-person events will always be here. There's something about meeting face to face, and you're never going to replace that connection. But what's important to know, sometimes we're in a situation like we were this last year. You have to find a way to somewhat give them that experience by creating an engaging event if you're going to do a virtual event. If it's just on and off and you don't give them an opportunity to connect and network and create friends and create, new business contacts, it's going to be boring. It's going to be old hat. And there's other events out there that are moving and elevating themselves to create that experience. So, I think there's I think the two worlds are going to collide. They collide in the hybrid environment. And, but this has opened up being able to have hybrid events and virtual events. It's just propelled us probably 5 years forward in the way of technology, where we probably wouldn't have gotten there so fast otherwise.
Boom. She's talking my language. And last but not least, definitely Mark Gordon.
Well, if I can continue with what Sherry's saying, I totally 100% agree. Not only do I think in-person events are going to come back, I think they're going to be coming back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, because, as great as technology might be, you cannot beat that human connection. As Chris said, shaking hands and kissing babies. Those babies want to be kissed. Those hands want to be shaked. And we love giving it as much as they love getting it. And there's something special about being in the same room. And with regards to hybrid or virtual, I speak to a lot of companies and associations, and my phone is starting to ring again with groups saying, hey, we want you to come out. And what I'm finding is, and again, Sherry, I'd love to hear your feedback on this, is, before the pandemic, it was pretty much in person. And then the pandemic came and it became virtual. What I'm finding now is that you're getting organizations and companies who want to go big for their big annual events in person. But what they're saying is, what, now we can, we know what we're doing with virtual. Now let's have a lot of smaller events throughout the year. Let's start have maybe a bi-monthly event that we'll do.
Yep.
Before, instead of just having that big annual event or maybe a semi-annual event, now they're doing that big annual event and saying, let's do something every second month virtually and bring in a few speakers and whatever. So they're kind of mixing it. As for hybrid, just my opinion, can't stand them. They're terrible. And I'll tell you why. Because as a speaker, I'm looking at the camera, but the audience is over there. So I'm like this. What? Yeah. Who am I talking to? Regardless who I'm talking to, the audience over here or the attendees online, somebody's losing out. Okay. If I'm talking to the audience, I'm making all these people in the room feel really good, but you online, I'm ignoring you. And the same thing, if I'm looking at you, I got like, a room full of, 100 people, 200 people, whatever, I'm ignoring them. So who am I looking at? I don't know, right?
We have the 7-second attention span and the squirrel mindset, right?
Exactly.
Like,
you want to maintain that eye contact. Nobody wants me to speak for an hour like this. It's just not going to work, right? So
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of hybrid as a speaker or even as an attendee. I either go virtual or go personal. That's my view.
Thanks, Mark. To kind of wrap up, and I just want to share a little bit about what my take is. All right. So when I started the virtual events, when I started streaming, really, my entire, reason for starting this was out of a business need, because I was facilitating, hosting, organizing in-person networking events. And then, I saw the same amount of effort that I had to put, running or organizing the in-person events. But, when 50 people registered, not all 50 will show up, right? And that it could be like, I would love to be there, but, I have this, I have that. Then what sparked my mind was like, what if I could provide a way for those folks who still want to consume the value, who still want to connect with the people, in my tribe, what can I do to kind of get them into my space, even if they're on the toilet seat, right? So that's when I started playing around with Google Hangouts, and I'm kind of dating myself now for dinosaur years, just mentioning Google Hangouts, just giving them that opportunity. Then over time, I say, if I could do this, right, I could do this literally anywhere. So people talking about hybrid events now, I'm like, I probably am the godmother of hybrid events. What are you talking about, right? So when I started my journey, so I started streaming, but my thought process was, I always wanted to connect with more people beyond my region, beyond my nation, beyond my country, right? One of the things that has really helped me do that quickly, fast, consistently showing up for the other person was live streaming. I could just pop up, on a live stream, connect and build my community, like Sherry said, and Chris said, we could just reach out to anybody, any time of the world. That's really why I started. So before I go, I just want to say, don't be afraid of trying something new. I think we all have had to learn that last year when the pandemic came. Do y'all have people or, clients who go like, I'll never be on camera, never. And then suddenly they've had to learn how to figure out Zoom, right? Just because work required them to be, on Zoom. And this is what I'm talking about, right? Whether it's in person, there's definitely, like Sherry, you said, always be, in-person events is always going to be there. The virtual is, I think, where we all need to kind of stretch a little bit and see what our purpose is, our goals are, and figure out how virtual events will fit into that goal. And it has helped many of us, all 5 of us here. The only person I've met is Laura. And that's also like after a few years, right, Laura? After a few years that you came to New York. And this is what I'm talking about. We're able to show up for each other consistently, right? Had I not been streaming or in this community, I would have not met any of them. So I just wanted to say that. I want to say thank you all for tuning in. And if you have any questions, be sure to go to We Do Virtual Events Live for the show's schedule. And until then, I just want to say thank you to all of you speakers and all the viewers who are here with us today, watching and sharing your experience and tips for, choosing the right platform for your virtual event. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great night,
Thanks, friends.
great morning, great afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.
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 See you, friends.